Infiltration mission, Oscorp, midnight, Manhattan, New York. The city was quiet from above. Yelena stood on the edge of a rooftop across from Oscorp Tower. The building was tall, silver, and surrounded by high-tech security measures. Lights still glowed on a few floors, but most of it was dark. Behind her stood 3 widows. Skilled. Silent. Dangerous. They wore the new generation stealth suits that Tony developed after his fight with the Red Room. He added more firepower and defense with improved kinetic dampeners while maintaining the suit's stealth aspect. Each suit has the classic invisible mode, which was perfect for this job. They scanned the security around the place and the guards' pattern. Then there were those annoying drones and laser traps. Well, not that it matters to them. Yelena tapped her ear. Comms check. Each widow responded quietly. Widow 2, online. Widow 3, online. Widow 4, online. Yelena smirked. Let's go hunting. She gave a small nod, and the 4 women flew across the gap, landing on the rooftop of Oscorp Tower without making a single sound. Inside the tower, the security system was top level. Lasers, cameras, motion detectors. But Stark tech was better. Yelena crouched near a panel and placed a small black disc on it. The disc blinked green. It began to loop the security feed. Eyes are blind, she said. They slipped through the vents, crawling like shadows. Every move was careful. Every breath was quiet. They stopped. This is the lab floor, Widow 3 whispered. Genetics and biochemical research. Yelena nodded. Copy all data, place bugs. Split up. They split up. Widow 2, target, Lab 4310. Widow 2 pushed open the glass door of Lab 4310. Inside, the room was cold and smelled like metal and chemicals. She moved quickly, scanning the computer with a Stark-modified device on her wrist. Files downloaded fast. Her eyes caught a strange glass tank in the corner. It was empty, but there was a small datapad-like device at the base of the tank. She quickly scanned it and found the main data hub that was still connected to this empty tank. Someone must have left it and forgot to dispose it. Well, she hacked into it, Mississippi. It would appear someone deleted the data. Would you like to recover the data? Hermes' voice came to her ears. Do it, she ordered. And copy everything. Affirmative. Restoring and copying data. Instantly, the data appeared on her HUD. Author's note: this is the alternate Alex Wilson from Spider-Man 0x. Those who have completed the book know. If you haven't read it, no worries, you don't need to read it to understand. He won't play any role in this story, but his extracted power will. Name: Alex Wilson. Subject: 0x. Experiment number: 2402. Last survivor. Mutation: immunity. ##note, 5th stage. The subject's mutation makes him immune to every poison, medicine, and disease. Subject 0x survived nuclear radiation. His body started to mutate even further due to our intense tests. He has unlocked his healing ability and tough skin. At first, we thought mutants only have X genes that grant them their power. But Subject 0x's body contains unknown genetic signatures. We have categorized them into multiple categories. 1. Neogene/neogenic mutation, healing ability. I believe his genes mutated due to our experiments. The immunity mutation is trying to save the host by mutating. I wonder how far it will evolve. Should I just inject him with our experimental spider genes? 2. Feral gene. I have one of my associates sneak behind Mr. Osborne and inject Subject 0x with experimental spider genes. Multiple spider legs ruptured out of the subject's back, and sharp claws came out of his wrists. However, his immunity mutation suppressed the transformation. I'm calling it feral gene. 3, error. 4, error. Personal note: Mr. Norman is pushing forward the experiments to extract Subject 0x's mutation. I don't have much time. There's so much I want to test on him and so little time. There's so much to discover. My assistant, Ezekiel Sims, found a rare strain of a mutant gene from one of the natives in the Amazon. I wonder what would happen if we injected this gene into his body. Will he evolve? Will he reject it? Will he die? We did it. I don't care about Norman's goal. Error. Was right *#ERR. He died during extraction. What a waste. The extracted mutation has been crystallized. ##error #so much power just sitting in a safe. I can't steal it due to the ##error #, what a shame. I need to restart my research again. My next target is Egypt. I've heard the stories of the first mutant. Hopefully, this new journey won't disappoint me. Logging out, Dr. Nathaniel Essex. These bastards. HAA. Crystallized mutation, huh? She thought. Suddenly, a beep, her HUD showed movement outside. Someone was coming. She stood there silently in her invisible mode. A man in a white coat walked in, yawning. He moved to a console and typed in a password. Then he typed something and logged out. Widow 2 took this chance to hack in and copy everything. Then, when he turned to get coffee, she slipped out silently, leaving no trace. Widow 3, target, armory subsection. In a hidden section, Widow 3 found a weapons lab. Crates full of advanced rifles lined the walls. She scanned them. Fake serial numbers. .1 box was labeled, shipment, secure transfer, RR Ross. She whispered. She planted trackers inside the crates, then photographed everything before slipping out. Widow 4, target, executive files. Widow 4 snuck into an office high above the labs. It belonged to someone important. The desk was covered in papers. Real papers. That was rare these days. She opened a drawer and found a black file folder marked Project G Serum, Revived. Inside, she found test logs. Experiments on captured hostages from war and homeless people. Some names were redacted. Others had been marked as failed, host deceased. One name caught her eye, subject, Harry Osborne. Status, unstable. She scanned and recorded everything. Just then, her eyes fell on a digital frame on the desk. A family photo. Norman. A sickly boy, probably Harry. Scan and copy completed. Hermes' voice came to her ears. She left that room. Yelena, target, Norman's private lab. Yelena moved deeper into the restricted area. This was Norman's personal space. The doors were locked tight, but her suit had a Stark-made bypass tool. It hummed softly, then clicked. Inside, it was dark. One green light blinked from a computer. She touched the desk. Suddenly, a hologram appeared, files, blueprints, and a list of subjects. She found something called Symbiote Interaction Protocol. It showed containment procedures, bonding tests, and even locations where the symbiote might be taken if stolen. One name stood out, Site V. Her eyes narrowed. She copied everything. A noise made her freeze. A small robot floated by the doorway. Patrol drone. She stood still. The suit hid her heat signature and she was in invisible mode, but the drone hovered too close. Then after a quick scan, it left. She stood. 15 minutes later, Yelena crouched behind a sealed elevator shaft door, watching the last flickers of downloaded data complete on her wrist HUD. She looked at the time and knew it was enough for the others to gather data and plant the bugs. She tapped her comm. Widows, regroup. Exfil in 5. We're done here. A pause. Then Widow 2's voice came through. Negative. I found something. We're not done. Yelena's eyes narrowed. Explain. There's a vault down here. Mutation data from Subject 0X, and something else. A crystallized mutation. Essex's notes suggest it's powerful. Dangerous. He couldn't steal it. But we can. Since we're already here, we should recover it. Tony would love it. Yelena cursed under her breath. Essex, of course, it's him. Back in the day, Red Room was keeping an eye on Essex due to his IQ and his insane procedures for doing experiments. They wanted to recruit him, but he was declared too dangerous and unstable. So, they have been keeping an eye on his experiments from the shadows. She glanced down the darkened hallway behind her. Every second they stayed increased the risk increased. But if Essex thought the thing was worth stealing, if even Norman locked it away, then leaving it behind could be a bigger mistake. "Where's the vault?" she asked, already moving. Sublevel 7. Right hallway, 3 clicks, 3rd room. There's a hidden biometric panel. I cracked it. I'm standing in front of the vault now. Alright, Yelena said. No 3, no 4, stay on standby. Watch for movement and set up a path out. Copy that, they replied. Yelena moved fast. By the time she arrived, Widow 2 was crouched near a thick reinforced vault door that pulsed with soft blue light. Let's go. The reinforced vault door hissed open with a low groan, releasing a gust of chilled, sterile air. Yelena stepped in beside Widow 2, eyes narrowing at the maze-like corridor ahead. The interior of Sublevel 7 wasn't just a vault. It was a fortress, rows of reinforced walls stretched ahead, polished to an unnatural sheen, humming with energy fields. Blue biometric sensors blinked on every doorway. Cameras tracked non-existent motion. Pressure-sensitive flooring glimmered faintly under the dim lighting, and walking between all of it were armed guards. Some wore Oscorp tactical gear, complete with high-tech rifles and HUD visors. Others were more unusual. Humanoid security bots, chrome-bodied, patrolled the area. Their joints hissed softly as they pivoted with clockwork precision. Each bot had a mounted energy weapon on one arm and a scanning visor that swept rhythmically across the corridor. Well, looks like a bunch of tiny toys. Tony uses these low-level toys to wash his clothes. I wanted to break them so badly, but... Yelena thought, but she had a mission. Yelena and Widow 2 crouched behind a server bank near the entrance, their suits rendering them nearly invisible. Hermes, feed me a security grid, Yelena whispered. A moment later, her HUD lit up with glowing blue lines, marking the motion patterns of the guards, bot patrol routes, laser grids hidden in the walls, and red zones indicating pressure-sensitive areas. Hermes' voice came through her comms. Frowny face recommendation, move in 30 seconds. Scanning patterns reveal a 3-second blind spot. Security is heavy but manageable with current camouflage systems. Initiating slow pulse jamming to reduce bot accuracy by 22%. Yelena nodded. Ready? Widow 2 gave a tight nod. On your go. As the guards passed, Yelena whispered, now. Hermes guided their every step with eerie accuracy. The vault was no ordinary security room. It was a fortress within a fortress. Yelena and Widow 2 ghosted past rotating laser grids, dropped into crawlspace gaps under pressure-sensitive flooring, and timed every movement perfectly. They reached the final chamber. It was massive. A high-ceilinged vault room, circular, lined with steel alloy plating and powered by its own isolated generator. In the center stood a containment pod. It was a thick, hexagonal chamber made of reinforced glass. Blue-white energy fields surrounded it in concentric rings, each one crackling faintly with power. Inside, suspended in a magnetic field, was the crystal. Glowing, red veins ran through the blue core, pulsing faintly with rhythmic energy, like a heartbeat. The size of a grown man's palm. Crystallized mutation. The legacy of Subject 0X. Essex's obsession. Oscorp's secret weapon, and it was guarded. 12 Oscorp soldiers in heavy armor circled the chamber, stationed at each segment of the outer wall. Above them, 4 automated sentry drones hovered, slowly rotating, scanning for threats. A multi-angle surveillance system covered the entire chamber. Every possible blind spot accounted for. Hermes' voice whispered into Yelena's comms. Frowny face notice, standard stealth penetration is not possible. Recommend an alternate approach. Initiating illusion protocol. Yelena selected the utility potion. The nanites shifted, creating small silver discs. Widow 2 did the same thing. It was a micro-holographic illusion projector. The two crouched near opposing walls of the chamber. Then, one by one, they activated the discs and rolled them silently across the floor. 6 projectors spread out like scattered coins, each one clinging to a different angle of the room's perimeter. A soft shimmer followed, barely visible to the naked eye. Hermes gave the go-ahead, projection field stabilized. Begin execution. Warning, limited window, 87 seconds until next system recalibration. Yelena moved, the projection kicked in instantly. To the guards, the chamber remained unchanged. Still. Guarded. Perfectly secure, but in reality, Yelena and Widow 2 were inside. They weaved between the patrols, careful not to bump even a breath of air too close to a sentry's range. The projection made it look like nothing was disturbed, but the Widows knew better. One wrong step, one static crackle from a suit, and the whole illusion would shatter. Yelena reached the containment pod. A circular interface floated above the base, 6 locks in total, biometric and code encrypted. Widow 2 stepped in and pulled out a Stark-augmented decryptor chip. She plugged it in, Hermes, bypassing biometric grid. Decoding neural-locked pattern. Estimated time, 10 seconds. Tick. 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 Yelena stared into the containment unit as the crystal hovered within. The red veins swirled as if reacting to her presence. "This thing's alive," she muttered under her breath. "Careful," Widow 2 replied. "We have no idea what we are dealing with here." The containment pod hissed. The energy fields collapsed inward with a whump of displaced air. The platform released a small plume of cold vapor as the magnetic suspension faded. Yelena manipulated the nanites, forming a containment box. Reinforced. Radiation dampening. Telemetry blocked. No signal would escape. For all she knows, that thing is dangerous. Then, she carefully moved the box up, putting the crystal inside without touching it. Hermes, extraction successful. Projection field has 22 seconds remaining. Time to vanish, Yelena said. She placed a fake projection disc in the crystal's place. "I wanna see Norman's face when he realizes his precious crystal has vanished in the thin air." They slid back the way they came, the illusion holding perfectly. The guards continued with their routine, and the drone still patrolled as usual. Not a soul noticed that the very thing they were guarding, the reason this room even existed. Well, it was now gone. Once they slipped out the perimeter, Yelena hit the recall button, the projectors flickered, then short-circuited and the devices turned to dust without raising any alarm. "Widows, status?" she asked over comms. "Clear. All files secured. Exit path ready." Yelena exhaled slowly, feeling the weight of the container against her side. "Then let's go before someone figures out they've been robbed blind." And like shadows never seen, they vanished. Norman Osborn's penthouse, Upper East Side, Manhattan. Second team, Lena and 2 widows landed silently on the balcony of Norman Osborn's private residence. There were the usual guards and security measures which were useless against them. "Go," Lena whispered. The 2 widows nodded and split up, one heading toward the downstairs office, the other toward Norman's personal server room. Their goal: copy everything. Emails. Schedules. Private documents. If Norman sneezed near a secret, they were to know about it. And set up bugs. Lena, meanwhile, moved upstairs. There she heard some voices inside. She crouched low and approached a door at the end of the hall, large, black wood, with a silver handle. Norman's study. Locked, of course. But she didn't need to go through the door. She activated the nanite's mites and placed her palm on the floor. Tiny nanite mites spilled out, no bigger than grains of sand. They shimmered briefly under her HUD before sliding across the floor and under the door. The feed came through. The mites linked to her HUD and gave her full view and sound from inside the room. It was a large office. Dark marble floor. A glowing digital screen on one wall showed data and research logs. At the center, Norman Osborn stood. He looked tensed and angry. There were hologram projections of 4 men, early-stage holographic tech, interesting. She thought, military men. Defense officials. High-ranking point. One of them was mid-sentence, voice low but cold. We gave you 2 years, Osborn. 2 years of black budget funds, stolen research, and access to assets you shouldn't even know about. Norman scowled. You don't understand how complex the process is. The G serum, we don't care about your excuses, another official snapped. We care about results. We want a stable super soldier serum. Now. Not another mutated corpse, not another failed subject. Soldiers. Perfect. Controllable. A third official leaned forward. You have 1 week. 1. If you can't show us something by then, something real, then we pull the funding. We'll shut down the whole damn thing and move to another contractor. And you know who's already waiting in line. Norman's jaw clenched. Stark, he muttered. Stark. I'm pretty sure Howard would be delighted to work with us to improve our country's defenses. The first official gave the final word. You either deliver, Norman, or you're done. You cannot do this to me, Norman said. 1 week, the holograms flickered once and then vanished, the room fell deathly silent. Norman stared at the empty air where the projections had been, breathing hard, eyes wide with fury. Then, he slammed his fist onto the glass table. It cracked under the force, spiderwebbing like ice. Arg! He stood there, hunched, breathing heavily, knuckles bleeding. His reflection glared back at him from the fractured surface. 1 week. He muttered bitterly. 1 week to finish what should take a decade. He slumped into the chair behind him, the leather groaning under his weight. His eyes went to the dark corners of the room filled with half-built prototypes, old serum samples, and vials labeled with numbers and warnings. Data logs blinked faintly on the walls. Damn fools. They think Stark can save them? He laughed bitterly, dry and humorless. Howard was always the golden boy, wasn't he? Perfect hair, perfect suits, perfect ethics. He spat the word like poison. He didn't understand sacrifice. He didn't understand what we were up against. His voice dropped to a whisper. I should have sent more men after him that night. Damn that robot, coming out of nowhere and saving him. Nothing was going his way. That he failed to kill Howard, failed to develop the new SSS, got only 1 week, and his latest stunt to recover the symbiote has also failed. To make things worse, Harry's condition was worsening every day. That he closed his eyes, trying to calm his nerves. Norman leaned forward, clutching his head in both hands. I was so close. He whispered. Subject 0X should have worked. The mutation was perfect. The fusion ratio was stable. But incompatible with Harry's DNA. Damn it. I'm running out of time. I have to do something, anything for Harry. I can't lose him too. Not after all the suffering he went through. He pulled out the drawer and took out a metal briefcase. Inside was a vial of green liquid and a note. Revision X9 shows 93.4% stability in primate trials. Cognitive retention remains intact. Enhanced musculature growth confirmed. Initial aggression levels are elevated but within manageable range. Risk of neurodegeneration, reduced by 41%. Unknowns remain, but progress is substantial. Norman stared at the vial. No more delays. No more trials. No more sacrifices. He was out of time, and so was Harry. Horizon Island. Tony stood in front of the screen, arms crossed, jaw clenched. Melina has just returned with the symbiote. He decided to keep it locked in for the time being because messing with symbiotes can lead to Null's awakening, and he'd very much like to avoid that freak of nature. The feed from Lena's mites was still playing. Audio clear, visuals synced. He had watched the whole conversation. Norman's whisper. I should have sent more men after him that night. Damn that robot, coming out of nowhere and saving him. For a moment, the room was silent, then Tony's voice cut through the still air like a razor. It was him. His hands curled into fists. That son of a bitch tried to kill my father. He turned to Lena's channel. Bring him to me. Lena's face popped up on the screen, calm and collected despite the tension. Copy that. Tony didn't blink. Alive. I want that bastard breathing when I look him in the eye. And secure his son. Bring him here.